There are places on Earth where history appears stable, layered carefully through time, preserved in stone, inscription, and memory. And then there are places where that stability begins to fracture quietly, almost imperceptibly, until the past no longer feels entirely secure. The Nazca Desert in southern Peru is one of those places. Here, across an arid plateau that has remained largely unchanged for centuries, enormous lines stretch across the Earth's surface. Some form geometric patterns. Others resolve into shapes, birds, animals, and abstract figures, visible only from a height no ancient observer could easily access. At first glance, they seem almost too deliberate, too vast, to belong to a culture without aerial perspective. And this is where the discomfort begins. Because the Nazca Lines are not a rumor, not a myth, not a misinterpretation. They are measurable, mapped, studied, and yet their purpose remains uncertain. What if these lines were never meant to be seen in the way we assume? What if their scale was not for observation, but for something else entirely, something embedded within the worldview of a civilization we still struggle to fully understand? History does not break easily. But here it bends. Long before the lines were widely known to the modern world, the Nazca region was home to a thriving pre-Columbian culture. The Nazca civilization emerged around 200 BCE and persisted until roughly 600 CE, occupying one of the driest regions on Earth. Rainfall was scarce, rivers were seasonal, and survival depended on an intricate understanding of water management and environmental cycles. Archaeological evidence reveals a society capable of remarkable engineering, including underground aqueducts known as puquios, which allowed water to be transported and stored beneath the desert surface. Within this harsh landscape, the Nazca people developed a complex cultural identity expressed through ceramics, textiles, and ritual practices. Their pottery depicts stylized animals, mythological beings, and scenes that suggest a deep connection between the natural and supernatural worlds. This is the conventional understanding: a resilient society adapting to an unforgiving environment, guided by ritual, symbolism, and ecological awareness. But this is also where the anomaly begins to emerge, because scattered across this same desert, often overlapping or intersecting with ancient pathways, are lines so vast and precise that they challenge the limits of this conventional narrative. Straight lines extending for kilometers, perfectly formed trapezoids, spirals, zigzags, and figures that resemble hummingbirds, monkeys, and spiders. And this is where the contradiction begins. The lines themselves are not constructed in the way one might expect. They are not built up, but rather carved into the surface. The Nazca Desert is covered with a layer of reddish-brown stones, oxidized over time. By removing these stones, the lighter-colored soil beneath is exposed, creating a stark contrast that forms the lines. The technique is deceptively simple. The scale is not. The modern awareness of these geoglyphs began to take shape in the early 20th century. Although local inhabitants had long known of the lines, their full extent was not recognized until the advent of aerial observation. In the 1920s and 1930s, pilots flying over the region began reporting strange patterns etched into the ground. These reports attracted the attention of historians and archaeologists, including Peruvian researcher Toribio Mejia Zespi, who studied the lines from nearby foothills. But it was not until the work of German mathematician and archaeologist Maria Riesch in the mid-20th century that the Nazca Lines gained international recognition. Riesch dedicated decades of her life to measuring, mapping, and preserving the geoglyphs. She meticulously documented their dimensions and alignments, often working alone in the desert under extreme conditions. Her efforts transformed the lines from a regional curiosity into a subject of global intrigue. And yet, even as the lines became more visible through aerial photography, their meaning did not become clearer. If anything, the increased perspective only deepened the mystery. Because from the ground, many of these figures are nearly impossible to perceive in their entirety. Their true form emerges only from above, a vantage point the Nazca people did not possess in any conventional sense. But here is the unsettling part. The Nazca Lines are not random. Radiocarbon dating of associated artifacts suggests they were created between 500 BCE and 500 CE, overlapping with the peak of Nazca culture. Some lines appear to align with natural features such as hills or water sources. Others intersect in ways that suggest intentional planning over extended periods. The precision of certain geometric forms indicates a sophisticated understanding of spatial organization, even without modern tools. Experimental archaeology has demonstrated that such lines could be created using simple instruments, wooden stakes, ropes, and basic surveying techniques. By establishing reference points and maintaining consistent angles, large-scale designs could be executed with surprising accuracy. This is not beyond the capability of an ancient society. This is not myth. This is stone. Measurements reveal that some lines extend for over 10 kilometers, maintaining remarkable straightness across uneven terrain. Figures like the hummingbird span nearly 100 meters, with wings and beak rendered in elegant proportion. The famous monkey figure features a spiraled tail, intricately designed despite its massive scale. These are not crude markings. They are deliberate compositions. Academic interpretations have evolved over time. Early theories proposed that the lines functioned as astronomical calendars, aligned with the movements of the sun, moon, or stars. Maria Riesch herself supported this view, suggesting that certain lines corresponded to solstices or celestial events. However, subsequent research has challenged this hypothesis, indicating that while some alignments exist, they are not consistent enough to support a comprehensive astronomical system. More recent studies have focused on the cultural and environmental context of the Nazca people. One prevailing theory suggests that the lines were part of ritual practices related to water and fertility. In a region where survival depended on scarce rainfall, the creation of large-scale geoglyphs may have been an act of devotion, offerings to deities associated with water, mountains, or the sky. The lines could have served as ceremonial pathways, walked during rituals intended to invoke rain or ensure agricultural success. And this interpretation carries weight. Archaeological evidence near some lines includes pottery fragments and offerings, suggesting ritual activity. The presence of nearby ceremonial centers further supports the idea that the landscape itself was integrated into spiritual practice. The lines, in this view, were not meant to be seen from above, but experienced from within, traced, walked, and enacted as part of a larger cosmological system. But the debate does not end there. Some researchers propose that the lines functioned as markers for underground water sources, guiding communities to vital resources beneath the desert surface. Others suggest they served as territorial indicators or social symbols, reinforcing group identity across a dispersed population. Each theory is grounded in evidence. None is definitive. And this is where the tension persists, because the Nazca Lines resist singular explanation. Their scale suggests visibility beyond the human eye. Their construction suggests intimate, ground-level engagement. Their forms evoke both natural and abstract symbolism. They exist at the intersection of art, ritual, and environment, without fully belonging to any one category. History does not break easily, but here, it bends. In recent years, technological advancements have revealed even more about the Nazca landscape. High-resolution satellite imagery and drone surveys have identified previously unknown geoglyphs, some smaller and more intricate than those documented in earlier studies. These discoveries suggest that the Nazca tradition of geoglyph creation was more extensive and varied than once believed. It was not a singular project, but a sustained cultural practice evolving over generations. And yet, even with this expanded understanding, the central question remains unresolved, not because of a lack of data, but because the data itself points in multiple directions. The lines are too precise to be accidental, too varied to be uniform, too integrated into the landscape to be isolated artifacts. They are intentional, but intention alone does not reveal purpose. Standing at the edge of the Nazca Desert, the lines are not immediately visible. The ground appears ordinary stones, dust, subtle variations in color. It is only with distance, with elevation, that the patterns begin to emerge. This delayed visibility is not a flaw. It may be the key, because perhaps the lines were never meant to be fully understood from a single perspective. Perhaps their meaning was distributed across movement, ritual, memory, and environment. A language not written in words, but in space itself. And if that is the case, then our search for a singular explanation may be misplaced. We are looking for clarity where the original creators may have intended complexity. We are asking for answers in a system that was designed to be experienced, not decoded. The Nazca Lines remain, preserved by the desert's stillness, untouched by time in ways that few human creations ever are. They do not explain themselves. They do not offer resolution. They simply exist. And in that existence, they continue to challenge the boundaries of what we think we know about ancient societies, about human intention, and about the ways in which meaning can be embedded into the world itself, not hidden, not lost, but waiting, quietly, for a perspective we may not yet fully possess.